On behalf of the League of Women Voters of the Spokane area and Spokane City Cable 5, welcome to our 2019 General Election Candidate Forum featuring candidates for the Council President, City of Spokane. We also welcome KHQ TV, who is live streaming this event. I am Ann Murphy, your moderator, and Molly Hannon of the League is our timer. The general election is Tuesday, November 5th, 2019. In this forum, these candidates will have an opportunity to present themselves to you, the voters, and you, the voters, will have that opportunity to learn more about each candidate, helping you to make an informed decision when marking your ballot. The questions I will be asking the candidates have been formulated by the League's Voter Service Committee. Candidates are seated in alphabetical order, and the first speaker will rotate with each question. Candidates will have up to 1 minute to answer the initial question and up to 90 seconds to answer subsequent questions with additional time for rebuttal or follow-up as appropriate. Each candidate will have the opportunity for a 1-minute closing statement. I will ask as many questions as time allows. Our timer will hold up a yellow card when the speaker has 15 seconds remaining and a red card to indicate time is up. And now, before we proceed, a word about voting. You must be registered to vote in the election. You can register online by October 28th, 2019. That's up to 8 days prior to the election day. Any mail-in or online paper forms must be received in the elections office by October 28th. New this year, we have same-day voter registration. That means during the 8 days prior to the election, there will be 2 places where you can register in person. The Spokane County Elections Office at 1033 West Gardner, or Center Place, 2426 North Discovery Place, Spokane Valley. Hours are Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4, and then on Election Day, they will be open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. When you register, you will be provided a ballot for voting. Other registration changes: automatic voter registration when eligible citizens interact with state agencies, and then new pre-registration that allows 16, 17-year-olds to pre-register to vote, and then when they turn 18, they will be registered. Registered voters will receive their mail-in ballots about 3 weeks prior to the election day. Return ballots must be postmarked, and make sure that you are aware of the actual postmark time, or deposited in conveniently located ballot boxes no later than 8 p.m. on Election Day, November 5th. Ballots can be dropped off on Election Day at the voter service centers. For locations of ballot boxes or voter service centers, or information about accessible voting units or other questions about casting your ballot, contact the Spokane County Elections Office at 477-2320. Contact information for candidates, as well as a voter's guide, can also be found on the Spokane County Elections site. Additional information can be found at the state website, votewa.gov, and on the League of Women Voters online voter guide, vote411.org. And now, we will meet the candidates. We will meet the candidates for President of the City Council of Spokane. This is a nonpartisan race, and all voters within the City of Spokane will vote. The candidates are Brian Beggs and Cindy Wendell. Welcome to both of you. Candidates will have up to 1 minute to answer our first question, and we'll begin with Mr. Beggs. What do you consider are the most important duties of the City Council President, and what specific training, experience, and skills do you have that have prepared you for these responsibilities?
You know, the most visible duty is really running the meetings here in City Council chambers. And I've been chosen by my peers on the council to be Council President Pro Tem, so I've had the opportunity to do that. I've been here over 3.5 years serving on the council, and I think I understand how to let everybody get their voice heard. And anyone who watches or comes to our meetings know there's a lot of emotion, a lot of passion, people care deeply. And figuring out how to make sure everyone feels respected and listened to is the key. And I have done that for many years. I have been the chairperson of several boards. The Washington Supreme Court put me on the Access to Justice Board. I co-founded Smart Justice Spokane and was the chair for many years. the Pipeline Safety Trust, which is a national organization that gets pipeline operators and government regulators together, served as that chair. Just many committees in that. And all along, it's how to keep it moving smoothly and taking your ego and your point of view out of the process and empowering those around you, whether you agree or disagree. That's what a council president needs to do and what I would do.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Wendell.
The council president really sets the tone. Besides being the mayor pro tem, it is really setting the tone for how the council and the agenda works. It's also making sure that that we set boundaries for what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. Out at the door, I've heard numerous times that people feel that this council has let things slip a little bit and that they don't feel comfortable in council meetings, that there's a lack of respect going on in the room. And I really feel that that's the role of the council president, to set that role and that tone. I also believe that the role of the council president is more really a leadership role and serving from down below. It is not serving up from above. It's really being able to generate conversation and to have people know that they're being listened to and heard. And that is probably the most important role I see as the council president.
Okay, so we'll start moving into some general questions in terms of all the things going on in Spokane. There's been a lot of discussion about affordable housing in our community, much of it centered on incentives to increase the supply of housing and access to it by low-income individuals and families. Could you address the other side of the equation? Are there barriers, regulatory or otherwise, that exist in Spokane that are impacting the development of more affordable housing units? And as council president, what specific steps would you take to address these issues? This will be 90 seconds. We'll start with Ms. Wendell.
Thank you. The barriers are real here. We have a housing crisis. We need more homes. We need more affordable and attainable homes, apartments for everybody. We need to recognize that we have to be creative. The barriers, I think, what are interesting is how we, on especially the zombie homes, we're not paying attention to the details. We're letting the little things slide. And code enforcement needs to be really prioritized to make sure that we're not getting into situations as much as we are. Code enforcement right now is being driven by complaint. We're not being proactive enough in code enforcement to make sure that we've got these homes that are being taken care of in a more timely fashion, that they are not having an undue burden on the neighbors and on property values. I believe that as council president, the leadership role is to make sure that what the laws that we have on the books are enforced, and that we have code enforcement to make sure that we continue to keep options open for everybody for housing.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Biggs.
Yeah, in my time on the council, really the feedback I've had from builders is that our office, all the codes and all those things are very builder friendly. We're getting permits out faster. We're helping people. In the time I've been on council, I've helped pass legislation that's made it easier to build houses, different kinds of houses, higher houses, spread out over the land, make it more profitable for builders to do multifamily housing, to do tax incentives. Really just to make it easier for builders to build houses, and they've been responding. But we're in the middle of a national crisis on it, especially out on the West Coast. And so it's going to take more. And really my whole thing is getting neighborhoods and builders together and figuring out. We did that with Jim Frank up in the Garden District. We passed a new law that says if you want to build a big change, meet with the neighborhood councils first. And then when we met with them, we realized what everyone was concerned about was crestline, whether it was going to be an arterial. So Councilmember Kinnear and I started a process, went through it all, got it fixed so it's not an arterial, and the neighborhood is excited for those new homes. And the builder's going to make a really great place for all types of different income housing.
May I
Okay.
have a rebuttal?
Well, sure. We'll do 30 seconds rebuttal on each of you.
Thank you. So the affordable housing, I think one thing we need to remember is this is not a new issue for Spokane, our supply crunch, and which is forcing our prices, to be honest, to go through the roof and our vacancy rates to be low. This has been brought to the attention. There was an article in the Spokesman Review in 2015 that this was going to be an issue. It's not new for Spokane, and it should have been addressed earlier. I do believe that our builders and developers need to be able to come together, but we need to look at the differences. It's what's happening between code and design, and those things are delaying projects for Spokane and being able to give us affordable housing.
Okay, Mr. Beggs, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I wasn't on the council in 2015, but I've been working on these issues for years. In 2011, I partnered with Senator Billig to come up with a law that will allow us to use tax increment financing districts like we did to build the sewers and sidewalks in Kendall Yards to build affordable housing. It's going to take like 7 words change in the legislature, and I've been working on it for all that time. And I've worked with low-income housing providers and advocates all that time before I was on the council to work on it. I've continued that work, and since I've been on the council, it's accelerated.
Okay, thank you. This is obviously an issue we need to all be working on, and so looking on with our housing and homeless, there's one question here on this subject. There's been a lot of discussion about what the community could do to help improve housing, homeless concerns, but we don't hear officials establishing some expectations for what the homeless could perhaps be doing to improve their lives in this area. Would you be willing to discuss with the homeless their responsibilities and provide them with ideas as to what they need to be doing to show that they are helping themselves, even in small ways? And we start with, where are we? Ms. Wendell.
I'll go ahead and start.
No, it's Mr. Beggs. I'm losing track already.
Yeah. So when I look at homelessness, and for the years I've been in the city and worked on it, I see 3 things. First, we just need more homes. I think everyone agrees on that. We need more housing, all types. Secondly, we need more services. Some of the homeless people are suffering from mental health issues and substance use disorder, but that's not necessarily the majority. The majority, according to the city's numbers, are lack of income. But one of the things I miss in the thing is it's not an either or on this. We do need more housing and services, but we need personal accountability. And that's the foundation of our community. I think everyone agrees with that. That's what we need to do. So it's really all those 3 things together. People can only act within their capacity. If they're in a wheelchair, they're not going to be able to run. If they're in the middle of a mental health crisis, there's probably little they can do. But when we provide housing, services, and then hold people accountable for their behavior, that's what works. That's why our community court works. That's why our many diversion programs work. And that's the kind of housing first that works. But it has to include personal accountability.
Okay, Ms. Wendell.
I think before I speak to what I would ask somebody that's homeless to do, I want to be able to walk at least a little bit in their shoes. And I was at one of our shelters today, speaking with a group of people that are experiencing homelessness. And we need to better understand the circumstances that brought them to where they are. I do believe, I'm a mom, I believe in holding people accountable for behavior. You can ask our 3 boys. But I also believe we need to understand and walk alongside somebody first and understand what brought them here. We've got significant challenges. On a police ride-along, I can tell you that we are dealing with a major drug crisis downtown and all over our city. And when I was at that shelter today, one thing that really struck a chord with me was they asked me to take care of the drug issue. They're being victimized at far greater rates than we are, and they want to be safe as well.
All right, let's go a little bit more on this and talk a little bit more in terms of either rebutting or expanding on each other's comments. Mr. Beggs, we'll do 30 seconds.
Yeah, well, I'll join Ms. Wendell in walking alongside people, and I've done that for decades. I've represented homeless people, helping them get jobs when I was doing a social worker. I've represented them when they were victims of crimes. I've represented them when they were accused of things, and I agree one of the best things that anyone can do is go to a shelter or a warming center and spend some time with people and see what they're up to. Because what I found was that most people just didn't understand what happened in their life that they found themselves there. And if we start with compassion and dignity, that's how we're going to find the way out for them, and it will be individualized.
Okay, Ms. Wendell.
You know, and Mr. Beggs referred to the point-in-time survey that we do in January and the #1 issue the number one issue was family conflict for those that are unsheltered. And I believe we need to do better as a community is connect people together and to find a way that we can help them feel empowered. And so with the accountability factor, there needs to be hope and a purpose. And I truly believe in investing in some job training and walking alongside, again, as I mentioned, is going to be the best way to help others connect back and engage back in our community.
Okay, thank you. With respect to the broader issue of homelessness and affordable housing, to what extent should Spokane be working with Spokane County, adjacent cities, to address these issues and working on that interjurisdictional cooperation? Why or why not would you pursue this? Are there other areas where greater interjurisdictional cooperation would benefit the city of Spokane? And we'll start with Ms. Wendell.
I absolutely agree that the partnerships with our agencies, our counties, and other outlying areas needs to be strong. There's no way that the city is going to be able to accomplish its goals with these complex problems alone. It takes time. Relationship building needs to be a priority. I've already reached out. I grew up in Pullman, Washington. I've already reached out back to Whitman County because I do recognize that we need to partner with our counties. One thing that really strikes me is the lack of a jail here. And I think that is symptomatic of failed relationships and failed partnerships with the county over time.
Okay, Mr. Beggs.
Yeah, you know, I'm the person from council that's assigned to really sit down every other week with the county officials and the city of Spokane Valley, and we work on all different issues, including what potential new jail facilities we might have. But particularly in the last several months, we've been working on homelessness issues and a regional shelter. Last winter, city of Spokane Valley police officers basically drove people to downtown Spokane. And we got to change that. They've got to step up and take responsibility. And they're willing to do that. I was just on the phone with the city attorney today from Spokane Valley about how are we going to get people who haven't always worked together, staff-wise, to work together. And really, that's really in my skill set. I think people recognize whether I'm their friend or even their opponent and things. I help bring people together and work on innovative solutions. And it's definitely got to be a regional solution because homelessness doesn't stop at the boundary. And the final thing is most of the resources really are going to come from the state. And I've developed my relationship with some of the top leaders in the legislature. So we've gotten some more funding for housing. We need way more.
Okay, thank you. Let's talk about property crime. It continues to plague our neighborhoods. While deployment of police resources is the purview of the chief of police, the council can take some specific steps to help address property crime problem. What would you suggest, Mr. Beggs?
Yeah, so most property crime is drug related. I think all the police will tell you that. So it's really an intersection of mental health and public safety. The main thing that the council can do is provide law enforcement resources. And we've been doing that since I've been on the council. We've added dozens of police officers. And I helped co-sponsor the voter issue on the ballot so that voters could approve even more. Asked the mayor to start hiring those people now so that we would actually have them in 2020. And so far, no luck on that. But as council, we'll continue to urge that. And then also really partner with the county on changing up our jail system. Right now, we don't manage our jail beds very well. We have hundreds of people in there who could be supervised safely and getting treatment prior to being convicted instead of sitting in the jail mainly because they don't show up on time for court. That's hundreds of people that would free up jail beds for people who need to be there, and also the evidence is those people actually get out of crime if they go through that treatment and supervision.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Wendell.
To address property crime in Spokane right now, it absolutely must come from a commitment to address the drug issue. It is rampant. It is by far the most reason why we have property crimes in neighborhoods, in our parks, near our businesses. On my ride-alongs with the police officers, it was a question I asked, and I think that they're feeling their hands are tied. We're not enforcing some of the laws that we have on the books. And yes, we do have some issues with our jail, but unless we start enforcing our laws, we are not going to make a dent in getting our property crime to decrease and addressing some of the things that we need to do to help people in our community with their addiction and with their recovery. it's a leadership position as well, to be able to let your police and fire and your first responders know that they have a leader. And it's very important to me, looking at the Seattle City Council, the Seattle Police Chief did stand up and say, I'm losing officers because I don't have a council that I know that is supporting my police force, and I will not repeat that mistake.
Okay. The city, and we saw this.
Ann, could we go rebuttal on that question?
Well, sure, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Mr. Beggs.
Yeah, I just want to say that actually our county, our prosecutor prosecutes more crimes and more drug crimes than any other county in the state, even though we're much smaller. So it's not that we're not prosecuting drug crimes. The problem is simply prosecuting does not solve drug problems. People don't get treatment while they're in prison. They don't get better while they're in prison. You have to work with people closely and take them, walk with them side by side with resources and accountability to get them there. And that's why I helped start Smart Justice Spokane. And those programs the county is now starting to adopt, that's what's going to get us there.
Okay, Ms. Wendell.
Yes, well, before somebody is actually under supervision of a prosecutor, they actually have to be taken in for a crime. And on the ride-alongs, I can tell you there's open drug use that is not being criminalized right now. It is rampant. We're not addressing it. And so in order to even have somebody for the prosecutor to work with, you have to enforce your law.
So you're saying that the officers out there aren't even arresting people?
No.
Any other comment on that? Anybody?
Yeah, that has not been my experience. We have 170 people in the jail right now who are there only for their highest charge of possession, not distribution, not dealing, for possession. So we are arresting those people. But again, we are not, there are a lot of other crimes we aren't arresting because we don't have room in the jail and we don't have room in the system. Because we have to, instead of simply warehousing people in jail and prison, we have to address what's causing that. And we're getting someplace. Years ago, we were a voice in the wilderness. Now Spokane is starting to lead the way. We are this close to getting over the hump and really making things work. But we need consistency and leadership, as mentioned, with knowledge of what works.
Okay, anything further? You've got 30 seconds for you, Ms.
I would
Wendell.
just like to ask the current council if things are better today than they were 3 years ago downtown. When I'm at the door, the number one issue I hear is, please take care of our homeless. We have a problem, and I do not want to go downtown anymore. I don't want to take my kids to the park anymore. I want it addressed. The city is too beautiful and too wonderful for this to not help us go forward. We need to address these issues.
Okay, we're going to look at another issue that's of global concern, and we certainly saw that happen on Friday with the climate strike, and the city has taken steps to increase sustainability in city operations. Well, I think we've talked about at these forums before about the liquefied natural gas and the addition of software that shuts down unused computers. So what else can the city do to be part of creating more sustainable practices throughout the city, as well as including private and nonprofit sectors of our community? And we'll start with you, Ms. Wendell, 90 seconds.
I believe one of the best ways to achieve some of those goals is to engage, and like you mentioned, with our private sector and our public. And one of the best ways, I think, is to use technology for that. Ask people their opinions, engage them in their answers, and to have, when we do have an office in our own city government of sustainability, and have them look into and research the most popular ideas that our cities come up with, our citizens come up with, that is local, that it is respectful of our budget and our resources, but that can make an impact locally for the people that live here.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Beggs.
Yeah, you know, I helped pass the sustainability ordinance a year ago, and the mayor refused to seat the committee. And so we did exactly what Ms. Wendell's talking about, is we put together a council subcommittee, and anyone who wanted to be on it, there's probably 25 active people, and it includes people from Avista, from universities, private businesses, people who are retired, all over, some people, mostly in the city, some in the county, all different kinds of people. And they have been coming up with specific proposals that will do one of two things: either help us adapt to changing climate, like lack of water or wildfire smoke, or help us get ahead of things and reduce the impact on us. And so they're coming up with things like a way that we could use the methane gas from our waste treatment plant to power those liquid natural gas garbage trucks. I met with Avista. We got an agreement with Avista to have 100% renewable energy by 2030 by using technology and innovation that won't be expensive because we're waiting that long. So it's more of that process, and I've been excited to be part of that.
Okay, thank you. And now we're going to go to your 1-minute closings. We'll start with Mr. Beggs.
You know, the city in my time here, and I came here in 1981, and I came back in 2004, it's the most vibrant I've ever seen it. The investment is record, the street repairs are record, we've got Riverfront Park, the neighborhoods are starting to boom with little mini commercial areas, people are walking around. So things are great in some ways. In other ways, we've inherited some problems of that. We've got a housing shortage. We've got people from out of town buying up our properties and raising the rents. And so we have those challenges. But we are on the move, and it's because we have a council and a city staff that understand how the government works and how to engage the community. And my fear right now is that if we change up the leadership for the fact that a small percentage of the issues are a problem in comparison to all the great stuff that is happening, we will not only not go forward, we'll probably go backwards. So it really is always the most important election for the city, but it really feels like the soul of Spokane is at issue. What are we going to be? Are we going to be the best place in the Northwest to live or not? And I hope to serve as city council president and make sure that we are.
Thank you. Ms. Wendell.
I want to make sure that it's clear that there are things in the city that need to be paid attention to. And there have been broken promises that are not little things in the last 3 years that this council should have taken care of. We should have had a homeless shelter in July. We need to address our affordable housing 4 years ago. These things are not little things. And I believe actually that that's exactly what it's going to take to address those things is change. They're not working. The downtown, we used to work downtown, and I hear from multiple people that I talk to, and I talked to a business owner yesterday. It is not better than it was 3 years ago, and it can cripple this city if our business community is not strong in our downtown and we recognize what the heartbeat is. And so I respectfully ask for your vote. I'm Cindy Wendell, running for council president.
Thank you. And thank you to our candidates for thank you to our candidates for City of Spokane Council President. They are again Brian Beggs and Cindy Wendell. This concludes our candidate forum for candidates running for President of City Council of Spokane. And in case you joined us after the program began, here are a few reminders for the election. You must be registered to vote. You can do that online up until October 28th or by mail by October 28th. Those forms must be in the elections office on the 28th. This year, we have same-day voter registration. During the 8 days prior to the election, the Spokane County Elections Office on Gardner and Center Place in Spokane Valley will be open to accept your registration, and they will provide you with a ballot for voting. The hours at those sites are Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4, and then 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Election Day. Other voter registration changes are automatic voter registration and pre-registration for 16, 17-year-olds. You will receive your ballots in the mail about 3 weeks prior to the election. Your return ballots must be postmarked and or deposited in a conveniently located ballot box no later than 8 p.m. on Election Day. Ballots can be dropped off on Election Day at the Voter Service Centers. You can contact the Spokane County Elections Office at 477-2320 should you need assistance. Contact information for the candidates as well as voter's guide can be found on the website of Spokane County Elections Office. Additional information can be found at the state website, wavote.gov, and on the League of Women Voters online guide, vote411.org. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of the Spokane area, thank you to all of the candidates for their participation in this forum. And thank you to you, our viewing audience, for the willingness to learn more about the candidates and their issues. We hope that this forum has helped you in making an informed decision when you cast your ballot by Tuesday, November 5th, 2019. Thank you for joining us.